efficient with it. He would actually write little notes about it and explain to people why you had to do this or had to do that in order to improve upon it. As a matter of fact, he made light bulbs that were so incredible that they put them on in the 1908, 1906, 1910. They didn't run out till the 1970s, some even into the early 80s.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Sheldon, in 1997, you founded the Planetary Activation Organization, otherwise known as the PAO. Tell us how you came to do that. What was your motivation and why this?
Well, I was told that what I had to do was create an organization that could help activate the planet. So what it is basically to prepare for first contact, teach people about consciousness and the shift in consciousness, and explain to people about the environmental changes happening on our planet. And so, which is all part of first contact anyways, because we have to understand that we are guardians or stewards or whatever word you would prefer to put on it of Mother Earth, of our planet, and that we have a responsibility to her and to the universe.
Sheldon, tell us what it's like on a mothership. What does it look like?
Well, they have different sizes and shapes. The one that I had was one that was about 300 miles long. It was kind of shaped like a very elongated football. And it had zoodles of decks, and walking on it was absolutely incredible because the minute you got there, you were in the field, which is a fully conscious field, which meant any ailments or anything you had was immediately gotten rid of because you were in a balanced condition. The other thing you felt was the absolute unbelievable love of the computer and the entire crew of people aboard it because they're all telepathic. And you just felt caressed and just loved from the time you got into the ship to the time you left. So you were in an environment that was very almost paradise-like. It was beautiful. And then, of course, when you walked around with the ship, the floors, for instance, would come up to meet you, so you would always feel like you were floating in air. You didn't really feel like you were pressing down on a floor. And the lights were never harsh. They were always very bright but never harsh, so you could always see, and everything was magnificent. And, of course, there weren't a lot of doors, and one of the things that I saw they could do was how to resonate with any type of matter and just walk through it. So they gave me a little device that helped me to do that.
Now, who are they? Who are we talking about? What ships were you on?
The main ones that I was on were Syrian ships, and then every so often I would go to another one, but that would depend on the guy who was my mentor, an incredible being named Washta.
Were you ever on or in the presence of the Galactic Federation itself?
Well, we had different Galactic Federation groups. The Galactic Federation Main Council, I never saw that, but I've seen Cirrus, I've seen a few other planets. It's fascinating. When I was a kid, I got all this neat stuff, and I didn't realize how neat it was till later. And because of way I felt when I was up there, and the nature of the family environment that I had whenever I'd return, I would struggle hard. I'd try to use everything, and it didn't work. Stay up there.
No, heck no, I won't go, right? You didn't want to.
Yeah, I tried everything, but, they could figure out ways because their minds are much stronger than mine was. So.
Didn't you make a statement, too, that your mom, after some time, finally acknowledged that she believed that you were really going to these places? What did she tell you?
Well, when I was about 12, I walked down one day because we lived in a house that had the bedrooms in the second floor. And I walked down in the kitchen, and she had all these different statements, like Thoreau, about going to a different drummer and all that stuff. So I said, interesting. And then she turned to me when she finally saw me in the room, and she said, I have a question. I know you're not from here. Where are you from?
Oh, no kidding. She wasn't kidding. I mean, she was...
No. After that, she was very supportive of me. She empathized then with what was going on. Before, there had been basically a confrontational relationship between both her and my dad. It was absolutely crazy. He was a rage fiend, is what I'd have to call him. He was a former boxer and fight manager, and he was in rage and frustration over the fact that his life never was the way that he wanted it to be. So the result of all of that was he just had an unbelievable rage. Unfortunately, I was the main eye of this rage.
Okay. So let me ask you this now, Sheldan. When you have your contacts with the Syrian beings and the councils that you have, are you, I know most of our connections are telepathic, but have you physically seen them? Is this all telepathic, or have you physically seen them?
Well, ever since they put the connections in my brain about 10 years ago, and the really advanced ones a few years ago, most of the time I am down here and they just communicate with me, because it's like having a 3D television in your head. So whenever they want to communicate with me or want me to do something, they come on and I get to see and hear it. As a matter of fact, that's one of the problems that when I first was with Colleen, she had a hard time with, because I would be talking and then all of a sudden they'd come on and I would just like turn away and talk, because they were like 24/7 in my head. So.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that could be a little unnerving or a little disturbing, I guess, in the beginning until you get used to it.
Right.
Now, does Colleen get contacted as well?
No.
No, it's just you. Okay.
Right. It was just she got a little bit of it when we were writing Galactic Neighbors. They raised the frequency around the house, and so she finally got her first contact, some of which were not the most friendly ones, because we were doing all different kinds of galactic star nations. So as a result, she got one of the first groups she got to meet were some of the Dinosaurian Orionites. So they look a little like raptors. So it was a little scary.
You know, Sheldan, I don't think I've ever asked you this question before. Have you ever been used as an experiment yourself, other than they're working with you and you with them? I know some people that use that term abduction. You're not saying that you have been abducted. You have
No, I haven't.
Interaction with them, correct?
I've always had interaction. If they do anything with me, it's all prearranged, or else it's just medical stuff where they're just checking on me.
But there's nothing fearful, or never been
harmed,
harmed, and you don't have no negative experiences with them.
No, I've had all positive experiences. The only little negative ones have been when things like when you are doing a book and you suddenly find raptors and reptilians that don't look the most friendly, and of course they gave equal comments back to me. The one person said, when I was telling him yuck, he said, well, I'll tell you something, humans are just disgusting.
Well, you know, I guess we have to really consider that, don't we?
Right.
We think we're all that, and, you know, it's from where you're standing, I guess.
Right.
Now, I'd love to talk about Middle Earth, Hollow Earth. It's pronounced, is it Ankara? Is that correct? Am I saying it right?
Agartha.
I'm sorry. I've got the wrong word here. I think I was going to the Ankara Agreement and the Anunnaki. But let's talk about Middle Earth here for a little bit. When you were talking with, and you do still talk with the Galactic Federation and the Syrians, are you interacting with those beings that are in Hollow Earth, Middle Earth? Right,
yep.
You do?
Yeah.
And who are they?
The Agarthans are actually the last Lemurians. They're the underground aspect of what was Lemuria, and when the surface was destroyed, they just became the last Lemurians, and except for one little period in our history when they came up and created what was called the Rama Empire, which is all over the Indian religious texts, the process was that they were just watching. And of course their major city is in Tibet, just below the capital of Tibet, Lhasa.
Are we one of the few surface dwellers? Is humanity one of the few surface dwellers in some of the other planets and our interior planet as well?
Well, all advanced civilizations are interior.
Why is that? Do you know, Sheldan?
Well, because the inner part of the planet is much more stable. It's much more easier to put a residence together. And secondly, the surface area tends to be where most of the major ecosystems of the planet are located. So what they basically do is stay on the interior and just monitor the planet, and if they do anything on the surface, just some minor required rituals, and where those areas are, they just leave some temples and a very small community of about maybe 1,000 or 2,000 people who are set up in such a way that they are not an ecological drain on the